Are you thinking about starting a podcast? Have you wondered if it needs to exist at all, or what it's actually going to do for the person listening to it? If you don't get these things right at the beginning, you'll find you've run out of things to say by episode 7. But if you do them and do them right, the content you're going to create is just going to flow and flow. Let's get into this episode.
Welcome to the Podcast Beacon. Practical, honest conversations about designing a podcast that supports your business, strengthens your positioning, and feels like you. Here is your host, podcast strategist Imogen Jones.
In the last episode, we talked about you, your backstory, your expertise, and what makes you worth listening to. Today, we're going to move on to the show itself. Why does it exist, and what is the problem that it solves? We're going to start a little selfishly, and we're going to think about what you want your show to do for you and for your business. You'll probably land on something like, I want more customers. And I get that. Most of us are doing all sorts of marketing activities to get people interested in us and our business. And lots of hosts use a podcast as a window into our business, as it's a great way for people to get to know us and to build some trust with us before they ever get on a call with us. But here's the thing about wanting more customers. It's an outcome, it's not a purpose for the show, and there is a big difference in that. An outcome is what you hope will happen, and a purpose is what you're going to hold on to when that hasn't happened yet. Because podcasting is not going to be a quick win. You're not going to publish 3 episodes and watch those inquiries roll in. That would be a delight though, wouldn't it? What your show does in those early months is build trust and prove to your listener that you know what you're talking about. So if more customers is the outcome that you want, what is the purpose sitting behind that? For most subject matter experts, it's going to be something like this. You want to convince people that you're the one to listen to, that you can translate what you do into something that is easy for them to understand. And it might be somewhere that you can point them to when a question that comes up over and over again, so that they get the answer in your words, with your personality, and in the way that you think. That's the purpose that you're going to hold on to on those quiet Tuesday mornings when you look at your download numbers and they haven't shifted as much as you had hoped. Getting customers isn't going to be that thing that you hold on to. When a client gives me the answer, more customers, I take them back to the question that we covered in last week's episode. What made you do the work that you do today in the first place? Because the answer there is nearly always the real purpose that is hiding. Once you've said it out loud, the show stops being about chasing customers and starts being a way to let the right people know that you're the person that knows what you're talking about and the one that can help them. So here are the reasons for my show. I'm doing this to demonstrate what I actually do, to give you an idea of what it is like to work with me and how I work with my clients. And I show you what a finished, well-built show can look and sound like, not just tell you about it. And along the way, I want to give you bite-sized, practical advice, the kind that you can use straight away and implement in your business and in your show. And whilst I'm on this honesty train, I want my podcast content to also work for me on my social media channels, because building an audience through constant posting isn't a game that I particularly enjoy. This show is going to let me show up with my face, in my voice, rather than create something new every time I log in. Now, there are many reasons why you might want a podcast. You might want to be invited to speak and use the show as a way to demonstrate how articulate you are. You might want to build your credibility as an expert in your particular area and show how you think about your topic. Whatever the reason is, get clear on that now, because every decision that you make in this season, the format, the name, the way you structure your episode, gets easier once you know what you actually want this show to do for you. So now you know that the reason why you want to do it, let's flip it. What does this show need to do for the person listening? Now, people press play for all sorts of reasons. They might want to learn something that they can use. They might want a bit of inspiration or momentum. They might be looking to solve a problem that they've been searching for. They might want to feel validated to hear that the thing that they've been wrestling with is normal and other people are feeling it too. They might want to keep up with the changes in their field. Or honestly, They might just want a little bit of company on their commute or on their dog walk. A lot of shows are going to serve 2 or 3 of those reasons and those purposes. So let me tell you about mine. This show is here to educate and to inspire. Educate because I want you to make better decisions about your show than the ones that you see people making on default. And I want to inspire you because most of you already have enough to start. You just need somebody telling you out loud that it's okay to get going. And there's a third one for my listeners for my show, which is validation. If you're quietly wondering whether you're expert enough to have a show, whether anybody would care, whether you'd run out of things to say by episode 7, I want you to hear that everybody feels that, including me whilst I'm recording this. Now do the same for yours. Which 2 or 3 of these reasons is what you want your show to actually be serving? Because it changes the shape of what you're going to make. A show built to educate will need structure and clear takeaways. A show built to inspire needs stories and pace. And a show built for company can run a bit longer and a bit looser. So if you pick your reasons before you pick your format, the format decision practically will make itself. I've sat through hundreds of episodes of podcasts about podcasting. I wasn't exaggerating when I said that I go deep when I get obsessed with a topic. And I am still amazed at how much of it's about setup, which microphone to buy, how to edit your episode, and which app to use to distribute it. Almost none of them go down deeper into that why. And that's the gap that I want the podcast beacon to fill. This isn't a how do I plug my microphone in type of show. It's going to be a sit down and think type of show. Every episode is here to help you make a strategic decision, not complete a technical how-to task. A show built on strategic decisions will not run dry in episode 7. So what's the actual ache for the person that I'm making this show for? Nearly every client I've worked with has come to me thinking their problem was technical, asking me about microphones, about the software, about the processes. And it's not until we start working together that they realize the real block wasn't technical at all. They wanted to be visible. They wanted to share what they know to be experienced by the right people in a genuine way before those people ever get in touch with them. And I'm sure you want something very similar for yourself. But they didn't have that confidence to step forward. They didn't know where to start, and they didn't know whether it's with the setup or with the planning behind it. Now that ache shows up the same whether you're a coach working one-to-one with individuals or a consultant working within organizations. A coach might be sitting with years of client transformations, wanting to put their expertise out into the world, but freezing at the thought of being on camera or behind the mic. A consultant might have all the case studies and the results to back it up, but they might have no idea how to translate that boardroom expertise into something that a podcast audience actually wants to listen to. They're different rooms, but they are the same problems that they're experiencing. They want to be seen as the expert that they are, but they don't know where to start. And that's what this show is for, to walk you through those things that get you from being stuck to getting started. By the end of this season, I want you to have the confidence that you've built something around you, around your business, your personality, and your expertise. Something with a clear goal for what it does for you and what it does for the listener. That's what's going to give you the energy to keep going, because you built a show that actually matters, not one that just exists. Purpose isn't a nice to have that you can figure out later. It's the difference between a show that runs dry and one that goes on to last. You need to know why the show exists for you and what it does for the person listening before you touch a microphone or choose a name. Before we get together in the next episode, sit with these 3 questions. First, what do you want to get out of the show for you? Secondly, what is the ache that your listener feels before they find your show? And thirdly, what do you want them, your listener, to be able to say about themselves once they've listened to a few episodes? Once you've got these answers, write them down. If you want to keep all those decisions together in one place, download our free Podcast Clarity Blueprint. And by the end of the season, you're going to have a podcast strategy nailed down. You can download a copy at imogenjones.co.uk, or you can find it in my show notes. Now that you know why your show exists and what your listeners will get out of it, you need to know exactly who you'll be talking to. Join me in the next episode where we'll dig into your ideal listeners.
Thanks for listening to the Podcast Beacon. If you found this useful, follow or subscribe in your favourite podcast app so you never miss an episode. For tips, resources and more episodes, visit imogenjones.co.uk.